Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bryce from Victims to Victors, where we tell our stories, how we overcame our trials, tribulations, and troubles. Fuck it. And how we overcame it, so you can know that you can overcome anything you're going through. Today's guest, you know, social media is so good, ain't it? Like, yo, today you can connect with anybody across the world. So, Josh, how you doing today, brother from the States? Golly, glorious,
What's going on?
man.
Super excited, man. Let's go.
Oh man, we're in such a weird world, like we were talking about earlier, is that politics is moving us the way we where we're going. But as long as our mind is straight, as long as our mind knows where we want to go, politics can say what they want to say, media can say what they want to say, but as long as we are connecting together, nothing can stop that, man.
Absolutely.
Oh man, so you say you down in Florida, no?
Yes, sir. In
Oh,
South Florida, Delray Beach, 24 years young and fired up about life.
wow. What's you're 24? You should be like in the clubs. You should be like, all them girls chasing them skirts. Like, you should be fired up about that stuff. But what's different about you, man? Why you got this different fire about you?
Oh man, that's a really good question. But it's funny because I was a part of that, all about that life. And I mean, South Florida, I'm not too far from Miami, so it's very easy to get caught up in that life. And I already did, for a time period. But I had someone tell me something that rocked my world when I was caught up in partying and being around the wrong people. He asked me, "What are you celebrating?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm celebrating nothing. I'm
Hmm.
just going out just to go out." And
Yeah.
he's just like, "Wouldn't it be better if you went out and celebrated something instead, rather than going out every weekend just to hide your pain?" And I was just
Oh,
like,
oh.
"You're right. You're right."
Where'd you find this guy? Where'd you find that?
Bro, it thankfully because of the business that I'm a part of, there's so many people that are leaders, and I'm able to, and especially because of social media itself, being able to connect with these people. And I was at an event and I asked, I was just getting started, and he asked me about what I love to do, and I was like, well, I like to party, I like to hang out with my friends and stuff like
Yes.
that. And I was fresh,
Yeah.
and he's just like, well, that's awesome. What are you celebrating whenever you go out? And I'm like, nothing. And he's like, well, why are you even going out in the first place? And I was just like, and we fell into the conversation, and that's how I was just like, honestly, I'm kind of just going out because like I don't like my life, you
Oh.
know.
Mm.
And he's just like, don't you think it'd be better if you celebrated
Yeah.
every time you went out rather than going out to hide your pain? And I was just like,
Mm.
yeah. And that's when I stopped. I was 20 something years old. I was literally just turned 20.
Wow. So you
So
just getting into the club and stuff.
I was, bro. I mean, I've spent quite a lot of time in there. I practically went out every weekend, and even during the weekdays, I would even
Oh,
sneak out of my parents' house and I'll go. Like that was something that was a part of my life since I was like 16, 17.
oh,
Going out to house parties and things like that, and
yeah.
and just going out.
Wow. You see, I can relate to something like that. I actually never partied to partied but one time. And I was bouncing, and then, we went homeless, whatever, whatever. And this guy was like, yo, I'll like, he came and he's like, hey, I'll support you basically. I'll come work for me, do my private security. I'm like, cool, bet. So we're following him around, and he was starting this part company, and everything was good. So we were celebrating. I went with him, and started drinking and had a great time. But then when I was finished, I was like, what was that? Like, my family's still homeless. I'm like, I got the worst headache of my life. Like, what am I doing, bro? Like, what am I doing? And so it came to that realization as well. It's just like, yo, what is the point if there's nothing there to celebrate? So I agree with you, man. So you said like, yo, pain. Bro, you 24. There can't possibly be pain, man. You haven't been around yet. You just figuring out what them
I
hairs on the chin is.
I I know what pain can be like, man. My family has been through it, and I know when we first started talking about like your podcast, you asked me about what my home life was, and I'm more than happy to answer that question. My home life was definitely, I think I had the best childhood. I had
I
from 0 to 13. My childhood was perfect. It was.
bet.
I was born in March 25th, so my birthday's coming up.
Hey now.
And around this time of the year, tax season is really when everyone starts getting their taxes. And being a family of six, and three sisters, two parents, of course, my mom and my dad, and we always went out to Disney at around this time period, and it was spring break, and we went to Disney like I don't even know how many times as a family, and there were so many good memories. But as time has gone on, when I started in high school, this is actually a really huge part of my story. And I know that there's a lot of people who are on this podcast that are probably like, who is this guy? I'm a health coach and mindset coach, and what happened to me during those years that of pain was what transformed me to be the kind of person I am today, which is, and I love the name of this podcast, Victims to Victors, because that's exactly how I felt was my transformation. I was a victim of my mind. And once I was able to transform that, that's when I was able to go and transform the lives of others. So, what happened to me? The first thing that I say, I always like to call this moment the day I drew a line in the sand,
Mhm.
because this was the day I decided to change my life.
Yes.
I was in high school. I was a junior, and I remember just sitting in my class, regular day, and my neighbor texted me, and she says, "Hey, are you moving?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not moving. Why are you saying that?" And she sends me a photo of the front of my house, and there's a moving truck with like my furniture and stuff out. And I'm like, I have no idea what that's all about. So I get out of the classroom and I call my dad. I'm like, "Hey, Poppy, what's going on?" And he's like, "Poppy, I'm so sorry, but we're getting evicted. I'm pulling you out of class. We have 24 hours to get whatever we can."
Mm.
And as soon as I came back home, all of my things were out in the yard. And, that just led to a whole bunch of stress. The only funny thing I can say about that day was as soon as I walked into my room and I kind of like looked around and was like, wow, I'm never going to be here again. The first thing I packed up was my video games. And I was like, because that was my most important thing. That was my escape.
Thanks.
So I was like, all right, I got the essentials, and now I'll get my clothes. So that was the only funny thing about that day. But
What games did you have?
oh, bro, everything. I think one of my favorites were RPG games like Skyrim. I mean, that was before Skyrim came out, so Oblivion, Halo. I had an Xbox 360, so
Okay, okay.
Call of Duty, all those, the big ones,
Yeah, and was the
um,
the only important ones, really?
the important ones, yeah. So fast forward, that led to a lot of stress in my family's life. My parents were arguing every single day, blaming each other for what happened. My
Mm.
sisters were stressed out, and me being the big brother, I'm like trying to hold it all in and just kind of like manage my sisters and kind of like make the best out of the situation.
Facts.
And then we ended up living in my grandfather's down in Miami. And it was in the ghetto areas. And my first 2 weeks of my senior year in high school, I get a I get an incredible call. It was life changing. My mother called me and she's just sobbing,
Mm.
sobbing. And I'm asking her, "What's wrong? What's going on, mom? What happened?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Poppy, your oldest sister's in the hospital. She had a stroke. They're doing emergency surgery right now."
Oh shoot.
And that just led to so much more on top of that. There
Of
was
course.
already a financial and stress level, and then now my oldest sister's in the hospital, and she ended up spending 3 months in the hospital from a stress induced stroke. A stress induced stroke, man.
Wow.
And I mean, that's how I call it. The doctors, they gave like the actual verbiage, whatever, but they said,
Yeah.
"Oh, we don't know what happened," but I'm like, it was stress, 100%. That was my thing. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it was stress. um so and that was a time period in my life that I was just like, I need something more. I need to do more. I need to try to provide more. And I thought the answer was money.
Ain't it always?
I
Jeez.
thought no, it's not. The thing is that it's part of it, right? It's
Of
part of it,
course.
but that's not number one. Number one is it's and I found that out later on. So fast forward, I graduated from high school. We're still having these financial issues. We're still trying to deal with my sister. My parents are still having their struggles and stuff like that. And I'm just looking for money, man. I'm working 16 hours at a restaurant. I'm going to school. And I literally decided to go and join the military.
Oh,
And I told my parents that, and I'm like, listen, I'm tired of living this way. I want a career. I don't want to go to school and go to work, go to school, go to work. I want more.
yeah.
And I thought the military was the option, but God said to me that He
Nah.
didn't believe I was joining in the right for the right reasons. I wasn't joining for the right reasons.
Fact.
Joining the military to escape your life. I mean, I don't blame
A lot of
anyone
people
who
do it. A lot of people do
a
it.
lot of people do it, but to me personally, that's not the best reason to start a career in the military. That's my opinion, but
Fair enough.
I have the utmost respect for everyone who joins.
Most definitely.
Um, so God decided to redirect me and
Mm.
literally plant me in that environment by tearing my ACL. He tore my ACL, bro. I was training in my jujitsu school. I was wrestling. I did this like weekly, bro. This was my bread and butter. And I tear my ACL in the middle of a random class, and
Oh, so you just
that led
sparring
to
and then
what was that?
you were just sparring. It wasn't a tournament. You were just sparring.
I was just training. I was just doing my thing, bro. That's all it was. It was just a regular day,
Yeah, yeah.
and then all of
What
a
belt
sudden,
are you?
I honestly, it was like 6 months into it, so I was
Okay,
just
so you
white
just
belt
started.
going
Okay,
into.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just started, but like my mixed martial art game was pretty good at that
yeah.
time.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie,
Okay.
but
Okay. Okay.
I loved it, man. That's one
Yeah,
of my I
the
love it.
best.
I love
Most
it.
definitely.
But man, when I tore my ACL, I thought I was in the best shape of my life. I was 160 pounds. I was looking good, feeling good. Tear my ACL, and my health insurance runs out. And in America, you got to pay for that bad boy.
Yeah.
So a lot of money, and and man, it ended up being a year and 8 months until I was able to get that ACL fixed. And I was still working as a server. I was still going to school full time,
Mm.
and I ended up losing 20 something pounds off of that. I remember jumping on a scale one morning and I was 140 pounds. And I was just like,
Fuck.
I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I thought the answer as well was exercise. I thought exercising was a way for you to go and gain muscle and stuff like that. So I was stuck in a rough place. So, I mean, fast forward, I ended up leaving that job, and my mother, she tells me to go to the store. She's like, "Hey, Poppy, go to the store real quick. I need you to get something." And at first, I was like, "No, I don't want to go."
Yeah.
But my mom's Puerto Rican, so I was already at that
You're
Walmart.
going.
I was already there. I was in 10 minutes. I showed up and I went in and out, and I got invited to this nutrition club
Okay.
that wasn't too in a nutrition club. It was like a shake bar. This lady just opened this bar up, and she's like, "Hey, you look like you like fitness and everything like that. Like, do you like to work out?" And I'm like, I mean, I haven't worked out in months, but I love it. And
Thanks.
I joined the club, and I just see the environment. I fell in love with the people. There was an amazing product that was able to transform my body physically. I
Mm.
was able to get my ACL fixed, and then I gained 21 pounds lean muscle mass,
Hey
and
now.
that just brought a business, bro. That brought a business. People started asking me what I was doing, where can I find what you're doing, and that's what started my whole health coach side. But it's
Mm.
funny because like I see my life as three ways: mind, body, soul, and that's exactly how I was able to transform myself. My first leg that I had to transform was my body. You can't have a healthy mind without a healthy body, and you can have a healthy soul, in my opinion,
Mhm.
but you can't expand the limits of that soul power unless you have a healthy body, because you can level up that.
Could I have a healthy body and still eat like Burger King and stuff and like church
Absolutely.
chicken and like McDonald's here and there? That's good, right?
Yeah, listen, man, you
Uh,
like no,
I
the
like it.
thing is that you gotta be like, you have to know what you want,
Mm.
right? And that's the kind of coach I am. I'm not the kind of coach to be like, you can't eat any of that stuff. Like, you can't go out to eat. Here's what you have to have: rice, broccoli, chicken,
Oh,
and shakes. No, no. If you want 8% body fat,
then okay,
I'm going to tell you that.
100%.
But if you're like, I want to live a healthy, active lifestyle, I want to look good, feel good, and act good. All right, cool. What do you love? And then that's like, having fast food every once in a while, that's not a bad thing, man. It's just you just got to know what you want. And if you don't know what you want and you're still doing that cycle, that's where people find themselves getting plateaus.
Bro, I 100% agree with you. I was doing the MMA thing. I was training and everything was great. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna smash. And I wanted to go pro. And one of my buddies one time told me, "Hey, you know what? You might not want to do, hurt people. And the Bible says you shouldn't hurt people willingly, right?" And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, that's a thing." And so I was like up in the air, and I was just like, boom. The moment I didn't know what I wanted, so to speak, pizza, chicken wings, some beer, some more beer, a lot more beer. you and it is the truth. Once you know what you want, it's a lot easier to stick on a path, being regimented, waking up at a certain time, going to the gym, and because you know what you want, you know the end goal. But once you were like, let's go over this way, man, you're in trouble. You in
Yeah.
trouble.
Especially if you're someone that's like, I need to get healthy, but then you're still stuck in that same cycle. Like that just being healthy is such a general goal. And this is what kind of started to transform my mindset a little bit. I started to set more intentional goals. Instead of saying I want to make more money, I started to speak out what exactly amount of money I wanted to say. I wanted to earn per month.
Yeah.
Instead of saying I wanted to be healthy, I started to speak out what exactly did I want? What body fat percentage did I want? What muscle mass percentage did I want? How did I want to act and feel like when I'm in the gym? Once you get a clear goal, definite goal,
Mhm.
it's like hard. It's like having a magnifying glass, right? If you can imagine this, having a magnifying glass and a piece of newspaper on a hot sunny day, right?
Yeah.
If you bring that magnifying glass and that newspaper and you're just kind of scanning and gliding over the paper, you're never going to make that fire happen at all, ever. It
Yep.
doesn't matter how hot it is.
Agreed.
But if you can keep that magnifying glass still, you can harness the power of the sun,
Hmm.
and then you can start a fire. And
Man,
that's how I feel like setting goals are. And
agreed.
we can talk about that all day because that's one of my favorite subjects.
Most definitely. And you 24, man. See, what I feel that people do, and I do it myself sometimes, we look at people's age, we look at people's outward appearance and say, this is who you are. This is your identity. Without even conversating with the person, without knowing who the person is, we're just like, boom, that's who you are. And then it's like we miss everything else. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're a young guy and you have all this knowledge, people would break go over it. They'd be like, oh yeah, he knows something, okay, right? But they wouldn't really sit down like. But then it's like, hey, you know what? No, open your mouth a little bit, see what you got to say, and it's like, oh, okay, there's some power coming out of this man right here. But yeah, man, I want to ask is like when you're in high school and the girls are out there, they developing, you're developing, but you also got the stress of at home, right? You also got all these guys and probably nice clothes, nice shoes, and like you had good clothes and you still looking good, but wasn't maybe on top of top, like you were maybe like second, third tier.
Yeah.
What did that do for you? You know what I mean? Going through school, still have to, get
Mhm.
an education. I'm sure mama ain't gonna let
Yeah.
you drop out. you know.
Oh no, no. And I didn't want to drop out of high school. I knew I could finish and I almost did. I'm not gonna lie, because the stress can get really real during that time period. But you know, I it developed, and this is what's so beautiful about God, bro. Like it's just like God moves through you in so many different ways. And if it wasn't for that time period in my life, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I
Facts.
was so angry during that time period. The high school that I went to was a pretty upper middle class area.
Okay.
And like, lots of the kids had cars and things like that, and they were able to go and spend money and go out to eat or hang out or things like that. And Florida is kind of like South Florida is generally a wealthier area. It's not like in the boondocks,
Yeah.
sometimes, but most of the time, like there's a lot of people who had that, and I used to be kind of jealous about it
Mm.
because I'm like, here I am busting my ass, and then this kid doesn't do anything and he has everything. Like, why is that fair? That's because God said, I have a greater purpose. And those same kids that got everything, they're nothing today. And it's because they've never developed confidence to be something.
Mm.
Not all of them, some of them are.
Mm.
But it's not a blanket statement. But a lot of the times that when we're given so many different things, we tend to rely on those as our norm. And then we realize that this is actually our comfort zone. So
Facts.
like my comfort zone was in the dark. I was in the dark. for
Mm.
a long time. And that's what gave me the most power
Okay.
as I grew up. And that's what gave me the audacity to speak. I mean, I definitely had that imposter syndrome where I'm just like, I'm 20 years old trying to start this health coach business and I'm going to try to coach a guy who's 50. Like, how is that possible? And the truth is, man, and this is going out to all my young guys are on who listen to your podcast. It's just you got to develop a lion attitude. You
Mm.
got to step into the spot like you're the king of the jungle. And
Fact.
it's not as a means of ego. You got to actually back that up with who your character is. And that only happens as you manufacture it through time and as you just stay consistent. And it can happen in a matter of a few weeks, in a matter of a few days. But once you get the ball rolling and you end up developing that personality, that's how you get that attitude increase.
Mm.
So, a lion isn't the biggest animal in Africa. It
Fact.
is, it's just a cat. There's elephants that are giant and can
Fact.
crush it with a single stop. There's giraffes, there's gorillas, there's rhinos. But whenever a lion comes into the spot, all of those creatures run away.
Yep.
Why? Because they respect the lion's attitude. A lion looks at all these creatures and it's just like, I'm going to eat you.
Fact.
And those animals are just like, this cat's going to eat me. Like,
That's real.
it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And that right there is a kind of attitude I feel like I've had to develop in order for me to become the person I am today.
Do you think you need to develop it, or for some people, it just is there?
Sometimes it's there, and sometimes people have a natural inclination for leadership. And that's where that whole concept, like, oh, our leaders born. Of course they're born. I've never met an unborn leader, right? So they're born, right? But there are
Most definitely.
people who but there are people who are more inclined, who have more leadership leanings than others, right? Leadership is a skill that can be developed. It's not something that is just some fairy dust that you can't reach, that only a certain amount of people have. You can learn it, but there are people who have a natural ability. So I think that if you have the audacity to say, I want to help someone, you got to learn these skills. And once you, and there are plenty of them, but you have strengths that you may not realize are strengths, like organizational skills.
Mm.
That's not one of my strengths. But
No.
if you're an organizational coach, you're my leader.
Yo, facts.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's you just got to believe in what your strengths are and that it can actually serve people.
When I was younger, I was going to this church, and they were all in part of this like MLM, network marketing, right? And I was like, man, these people are talking hot mess. They'll go up on stage and talk the biggest stuff, be the boldest person on the road home, or just talking in the streets. They're like crying in tears. Like, what are you doing? And then you realize they're not really doing what it is that they need to do, right? Like you were saying, like, you can have the imposter syndrome or mentality, but yet still cultivate what it is to become that leader that you're meant to be, that you're created to be. And you got these other people that are trying to show it all out, and then people don't really follow you because people look at who you are and what you've actually been able to achieve in your life. And obviously, our fruits are in our labors and not our sitting watching TV. you know,
Absolutely.
for sure. So when did you feel that, starting to be a life coach, a personal coach, would you say a health and wellness coach,
I'm a health and mindset coach.
mindset coach? So when did you say, I'm gonna do this, and it was a full bore thing? When was it like you said, boom, I'm doing it? Was it like the moment you signed the paper on the dotted line, or?
No, no, it wasn't that. It was when I was actually able to meet people who had similar values as myself, and I connected with them, and they're much more ahead in the game, and what their lives were. So there's this gentleman by the name of Garen Jones, and if you looked him up, man, like he's one of the most inspirational people you can ever meet, and his story is incredible. And when I first heard his story, and also another man named Enrique Carrillo.
And
His
who?
story, Enrique Carrillo. So Carril,
You,
I
you,
think
you you say it
LLO,
a lot better than me, boy.
because I'm Hispanic.
There you go.
Oh man,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah. So what Garen's story was, he showed me that it was possible to transform your life no matter your background, and he went from homeless to being multimillionaire, but also impacting multi-million lives.
Mm.
So That's something that's I love, right? Because I'm like, I want to impact people. And then we have Enrique's story, and his story was the impact he made on his family and his loved ones. He was able to retire his mom. He was able to go and retire his dad and take him out for his birthday to the Super Bowl where Carlos Santana was doing the national anthem, and they got box tickets. And I was just like, that's not cheap. Like,
No,
that's
no, no,
awesome
at the Super Bowl, that ain't cheap at all, boy.
at the Super Bowl, man, and they go every year, and I'm like, how amazing would that be if I'm able to go and do that for my father? Like, how amazing would that be for me to retire my mom and all that stuff? So that's what. So Garen Stormy showed me that you can transform your life, and then Enrique's story shared told me what you can do when you transform your life.
Mm, wow.
And that's when I was like, I'm all in. Let's go. And I didn't know that it was going to have the kind of my business story is definitely a something for another time. But man, the ups and downs I faced in that, I never knew by signing those papers to go and be a part of the company I'm with today, and where it would lead me to would be where I'm at today. I'm not gonna lie, I never would expected being a life coach, but opportunities come when you open the door, man. When you open the door, and you got to keep open. That's a thing.
Yep.
So many of us want to shut the door on our negative emotions, right? Sadness, anger, anxiety, depression. But the same door that shuts out those emotions
Mm.
shuts out happiness and opportunity. And once I understood that, I was like, I have to experience it all. You can't take a little bit off of this. You got to experience life to its full. And that's when God was going to be like, listen, you can handle it more. Now I'm going to give you this. Now I'm going to give you this. Now I'm going to give you this. And now today it's just like I just see so high. It's kind of insane. Like my vision is pretty up there, but my work ethic is up there too.
So when you're down and out, when you're not obviously right now, but in the beginning, when you were just starting, right? You were not financially in a place that you want to be, maybe physically not in the place that you want to be, and you had to go talk to first Billy Bob, first Mary Joe, and say, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you." How would that work? How is that mindset? Knowing where, like, I just walked out this house, I know where I am, and now I got to go and convince other people that I got a great idea for you. How did you mentally prepare for that?
Um, Well, firstly, I did start out that way. And I found out really quick that that was not a way to build a sustainable business. No one wants to be sold. People want to do business with those they like, know, and trust. And sometimes people don't even know what that means, right? What does it mean to like, know, and trust someone? But it is building relationships. Once I was able to make that shift, that's when my business started to build. Because sales is one thing, and you can make money off of sales, but you're never going to create a sustainable business by just constantly selling and retailing. You got to help people get what they want to get what you want. And that once I was able to really do that, like that's when clients started to come out, and that's when referrals started to come out. Because you're not gonna give me your sister's phone number if I didn't make an impact on you,
Most
for an
definitely.
example,
Most definitely.
right? If I made that impact on you and I helped someone lose 50 pounds, you're going to be like, yo, I got so and so many people. Like, you helped me lose it. Like, I trust you with my family. And that's how I was able to transform families' lives by just doing that. I'd work with that individual. So, I think what I just to answer your question directly, like within that time period when I didn't have much and I didn't have anything, it was just literally ignorance on fire. I was going out and just saying, hey, I got something for you. Like I just opened up a nutrition club, like I,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and that's kind of like the lingo that kind of goes out. But once I was able to remove that and realize that, like, no, this is more of a long term game. Like I can't just have a client for a 3 month or a month process. Like
Yeah.
I need a 20-year client. I need one, and once I was able to change that, my pace changed a lot, and that's what a lot of young people face in entrepreneurial ventures as well. They want things quick, and especially with my background, like I wanted it quick,
Most definitely.
so but it's not that. It's a lot longer of a game. It's a lot longer of a game, but you got to act every day fast. You got to think marathon, but everyday sprint.
Fact. Oh, I like that one. I like that one. I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. So, do you look at the younger you and say, "Man, like what do you think when you see somebody that is in that situation, right? Do you like, hey, man, that's shit, tough breaks, or is it more like, hey man, you got so much of an upside? What do you think?
Yeah, they got so much more of an upside. And the thing is, like, the way I can visually bring it to everyone's attention, if you can imagine having someone point a finger in your face, like right in your face, all you're going to focus on is that finger. You're
Well,
never going to focus on anything more past that finger.
right.
And that's how people look at their problems. They see it as like, these are my problems, and I just put all of my focus on it.
Hmm.
And if you only knew what was waiting for you when you let go,
Agreed.
when you let go of the anger that's happened or the trauma that's happened, it's living in the past. And sometimes people are living in the future by thinking and daydreaming all the time, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
True.
It's not a bad thing to remember your past. It's not a bad thing to constantly think about your future.
Hmm.
But because we do one or the other so often, we neglect the present, and the
Hmm.
present is the only thing we have in front of us. That's it. It's it. So we waste our time by thinking our about our memories and traumas. They're like, oh, I can't do this because this happened to me. And I'm like, well, that happened to you, yes, but what is going on today?
Yep.
And they're just like, well, I don't know what's going on today because of what happened to me. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not talking about that. We're talking about what are you doing today?
Yep.
You're saying that, okay, my father what used to be an alcoholic. Okay, are you not drinking? Are you making those efforts to
Yep.
today to not pass on that trauma? And then they're like, well, sometimes I have that trauma because of what's happened to me. And I'm like, no, listen, you can change it, right? It doesn't have to be that way. So that's how I kind of feel about that. People need to live in the moment, and that's really the most transformative thing that anyone can ever do, being present.
I'm on this Facebook group, and boy, man, it is like the gray skies are always over them. They're like always crying, always down in the dumps, and I'm just like, my gosh, like it hurts because like, hey, there are people hurting. Okay, cool, that it does hurt. But man, can we just look
Absolutely.
at what's going on today? Like, please.
Yeah,
But my daddy beat me.
I get it, man. But
Yeah.
like that's the reason why you can heal
Yeah.
people.
Oh
That's that
my,
right there.
exactly.
Okay, my like bro, there's a story that blew my mind about this concept. There was two children, twins, that grew up in an abusive household. Their father was an alcoholic.
Mm,
One grew up and became an alcoholic, and when asked, "Why are you an alcoholic? What happened?" He said, "My father was an alcoholic." The other twin grew up, same environment, never touched a drop of alcohol,
yeah.
successful, living his life. When
Yeah.
asked, "Why don't you drink?" He said, "Because my father was an alcoholic."
Mm,
What we do with our past determines our future, yes,
so true.
but we got to remember that just the only reason why this past lives on is because we put our energy to it. If we focus on our present, like, opportunities are abundant. There's so many opportunities, but people don't see it, and they're like, I live in a crazy world, and like there's no opportunities in front of me. And I'm like, no wonder, because all you're thinking about is what happened to you.
Exactly.
I would feel the same way. I did feel the same way.
Mm. I talk to people and I say, now what? You got a piece of paper, write every single thing that is terrible about your life, everything of the past, everything. I don't care how minute it is, I don't care how big it is. Write down everything that can possibly hold you back from whatever the hell you want to do. And then, so the person would do it. And I'm like, is that everything? And they're like, yes. I'm like, everything. Like, yep, cool. Now I just write on the paper. Now what? What you gonna do now? Because it happened. Yes, 100%. But it happened. Are you going to continue to live in that? Or are you going to see the dream, see the potential, see the opportunity, and move towards that? But you don't understand that. I'm like, and then there's a point where you as an individual have to realize when you can and when you can't help people. You could give them opportunities. You can say, hey, my hand's here. But if they're not gonna see that, if they're not going to deal with that, there's very little you could do as that's my opinion. What do you think?
I believe people can only change when they wish they want to change. So I agree. If you want to change, you're going to change. You got to say enough is enough already. Like, how long are you going to keep this going? Because then it's just an abusive cycle, and then you're not helping anyone. You got to help yourself first. And that's how I was able to transfer. Like once I was able to really get that, I was just like that was a mindset shift, and that's the reason why I became a mindset coach. I can't really help people with their soul because people's soul is people's soul, and they're the ones that are ultimately in control of that. I feel that if soul to me is spirit and working on your spiritual life. I
Agreed.
can't tell you what to do with that, but I can tell you that it's important to focus on, which is why I'm always like mind, body, soul. So I
Yeah,
can help you with your body. I can help you with your mind,
agreed.
but your soul is something that's a journey that you have to take by yourself.
Mm.
That's why I don't call myself a soul coach because of that.
Yeah,
You know, if there was a way for me to reach into people and really help them transform their souls, that'd be
I'll
pretty
do that
amazing.
for
I
sure.
would, but I haven't come across resources that give me the audacity to say that. So, you know,
I got one right here. I got one right here.
let's go to Holy
This
Bible.
right
Yes,
here.
sir.
This right here.
Yes,
It got you.
yes,
It got you.
that's right. That's right. And I do actually do have a lot of Christian based things in my business because it's just so powerful, man. The book is just so good. Everything is in there, man. All of my trauma is in that Holy Bible, bro. And I'm like, how is this? How is that true? Like, it was already done. It was,
Yeah,
and that's why when God says it's already written, and
bro,
I'm like,
bro.
we
My
could talk about that
favorite,
all day. I already know.
my favorite scripture, bar none, is John. Was it 1930? It is all finished. When he grabbed that sour wine, he drank. He looked up to heaven. And he said, "It is all finished." He bowed his head and he gave up his spirit. It is all finished. I love that because my pain is gone. My stresses are gone. My love is tied into him. His love is flowing
Yes.
through me. So I cannot be without. I cannot be in lack. And the more you read that book, that one itty bitty itty little book, woo! Oh Jesus. I can go deep on that one, boy. I promise you I could.
My pastor that I follow, he says the Holy Bible is the only book that when you read it, it reads you.
Oh, oh, yes. Oh God, yes, yes, that is so
And it's
true.
so true.
Yeah.
So freaking true.
Who do you watch? Who,
Even the lying attitude thing. It's Philippians 2:5. He's like, have that same attitude that was in Christ Jesus.
you know,
God only compared himself to two creatures in this world, which was
the
the
lion
lion and the eagle.
and the lamb.
The Lamb of God,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But God's personality when he was
Okay, yeah,
asked
yeah,
like
yeah,
what
yeah.
do you find my personality is, he's like, I you can see it in the lion, you can
Yeah.
see it in the eagle.
Agreed, agreed. Yeah, man, it's if you I think that okay, so yeah, I wasn't really intending to get in a little Christian dialogue, but why not just a little bit? Just a
Why
little
not,
bit.
man? Why
Yeah.
not?
So in my opinion, a lot of Christians are lacking is because they take this part and they just read that part. There's a whole piece over here that talks about the abundance that you should live. It talks about the way that we should be givers, that we should be able to just give to the planet, the world. And when we go through a world and thinking that we should be in lack and thinking that we should be in poverty because some teacher of the word decides that that's where we should be. What do you think on that? What do you think that when Christians are like, I should be like, was it Mother Teresa? Just give all my time and energy. Oh, look what she did. Which, hey, she did amazing work. Can't lie about that. But she fed them with money. Just let you know. You had to get that food somehow.
Yeah. You can't help poor people if you're one of them. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And you can't help yourself unless you take care. And God wants you to make money. That's the crazy part about it. People don't even. That's where that part of the book that most people don't read about
Yeah.
because God wants you to make money.
Yeah.
God said the diamonds are for His crowd, not for Satan's bunch. The diamonds and the accolades, bro, are for us.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, and they get caught up in this trap that I have to trade my time for money. I have to trade my time for money, and it's just like that's the worst way to make money. The worst way to make money is by trading your time because you're never going to get that time back. You're going to tell me you're worth $15 an hour? 15? Really? You sure? You
Look at that.
sure? And then some people argue with me, man. They're like, "Oh, I don't have any skills," and I'm like, "Who said that? Your teachers?" Because it's not true. I've had people tell me that I don't have the skills, bro. I've had people try to shut me up, tell me that I speak too much, tell me that I'm too out loud and I don't follow the crowd too much and I don't, focus and all that stuff
Thank
and
you.
all of that played in.
Thank you. That's exactly right. I don't want to follow the
Yeah.
crowd.
I don't want to follow crowds. I don't want to focus on where you focus on because what I focus on is entirely different story. And just because it's different from you doesn't mean I'm not focused.
Ain't that the truth? Man, I had one teacher, he told me this, but it was the truth. He says, you have nothing to say. And I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I got something to say. He's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? You can't tell me I have nothing to say. He's like, cool, then what are you saying? Um, the teacher's racist. And he's like, exactly, you have nothing to say. So until you have something to say, be quiet. Because when you keep talking, you
True.
make people look like you're an idiot or make people think you're an idiot. And I was like, oh, because I was looking at the crowd. I was saying what they wanted to say, the same thing that everybody else was saying. I was saying, realizing,
Mm,
and it wasn't the truth. Like, I don't think that teacher's racist. I don't think I failed the class because the teachers are racist. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get sent to the principal's office
yeah.
because the teachers are racist. You know what I mean? Like, I got a big mouth and I like to use it. I like to hear myself talk, you know? And at that time, that was it. Like, I didn't have anything, I didn't have anything to offer. And we have to realize that you may at the beginning think that you're not enough or you're not able or capable, but I promise you, just because you're not talking, I'm drinking, I'm partying, I'm having a great time, people think I'm funny, but are you bringing any substance to the table? Are you bringing any meat and potatoes? There's one brother, I was coming home with a while ago, and he was saying we went to church and we had a T-shirt on underneath the sweater that we would go up, sit at the front row of the church, right, and then have a zip up hoodie or sweater. Underneath the shirt, it said, "Good sermon" or "Good message. I'm still hungry." And at the end, they would open it up and just show the pastor. I'm I thank you for the message, great message, but I'm still hungry because when you're saying something, people should be being filled. There should be substance behind what you're saying. You shouldn't be up there, one, especially preaching the word of God, saying nothing. You know what I mean? And or even just doing your business or just trying to encourage people in whatever it is. People will realize really quickly if you're just talking a hot mess or you're actually filling them. And I think when you speak, I'm sitting up here, I'm like, boy, my belly getting full, man. This man talking some real stuff right here. It's so powerful when you speak, when you say things, because
Thank you.
you know that the person's authentic. You know what I mean? And for sure, when I listen to you, I'm just like, oh, this boy's a young buck, but man, he got something deep inside of him now. There's something inside this young man.
Bro, it's greater than me, man. That's called Jesus, bro. Like that's not me, man. That's not like God just gave me a couple of little things, and everything else is, man. It's funny because like people think I plan my speeches sometimes or like something like that, and I'm like, I have absolutely no clue what I'm going to say, but whatever I'm going to say,
Like,
it's
I
going to
don't know.
happen. I don't, and bro, Moses was just like that. Moses, bro, he's just like, God, listen, I can't speak, and I forgot the exact scripture, but he's just like, I will tell you what to say to my people. Now go.
Yep, yep.
And that's right there is just so key because people are just so focused on having the right words or like planning their speeches or planning this. I have to get all the answers to my questions first before I take one single step. And it's just like, no, it's already provided for you.
Yep.
Trust it. Just step on the boat and ride it,
Mm.
man. I'm telling you, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen not on your time schedule at all.
That's the
I'm
truth.
not where I'm at today. I'm not where I dream of yet. Where in my life, I'm on my way, and I see that, and it gets me excited. But
Like,
I'm not there yet. I can't retire my mom yet, but
facts.
the fact that I have that dream, like God's going to provide that for me on His timing, The way I see it, bro, if I'm able to accomplish that at 30, I think that's a pretty freaking amazing thing. You know, most people are never able to do that for their families. So if I even have the ability to do that, even in my 50s or whatever it is, man, like
Mm.
that right there is winning, and people don't see that, especially young guys like me. They don't see that, and I'm like, you do realize you're gonna live up past 100, right? They're like, no, no, I can't even see past 100. I'm like, do you not understand the medical advances that are in today?
Oh,
You're
100.
gonna live past 100,
Yep.
and if you, let's say, just live 100 and you're 30 or 40,
Got a
you
lot.
still have 60% left. 60 more years. You got another 3 lifetimes ahead of you.
Literally.
And then that's so important. It's so important for everyone to understand.
Yeah. I love this one scripture. It's in Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah. You said, I hear the voice of the Lord calling, who shall we send? And who will go for us? And I find that so powerful because the call is out to everybody. Calls out to everybody. But who will go for us?
Mm,
And it's important because people don't realize that you're called for a specific purpose, specially orchestrated by God. And if you don't say, pick me, I'm the one. If you don't do that, it's going to happen.
never happened.
It's going to happen. Whatever it is going to happen, just not by you.
Ah, and that's the worst thing, man.
It's man, I read that. I was reading the word yesterday, and that's what it showed me. It's just like, oh, it's gonna
That's what I'm
happen.
saying, man.
He's like,
The
I'm
Bible,
gonna raise
it
the
gets you, man.
yes. He's like, I'm gonna raise the rocks to praise me. I'm like,
Ah.
oh, not the rocks. How about him? Not the rocks, please, not the rocks. You
Oh
know when you
yeah,
have a
yeah.
girlfriend and then she goes up with her rebound, and you look at the rebound, you're just like, you got that one? Him over me? Are you serious? And that's what God said. He's like, hey, I'll choose the rocks. I don't really care. If you gonna do it, I want you to, but the rock's gonna do it. And this was one of the scriptures that Jesus was walking on water, and Peter said, hey, Jesus, is that you? He's like, yeah, don't be afraid, it's me. He said, if that's really you, call me to come walk to you. And he didn't come and bring us long ass speech. Jesus didn't keep on talking all these. You gotta. He said, "Come." And there's apostles in that boat. There's other people that heard that same call, but only Peter walked on the water. And I love to tell people like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna walk on those waters? I can't. I can't. I'm gonna drown. He said, "Walk on the waters, baby." He ain't tell you you're gonna drown. You gonna walk on those waters. But when you got a brother like yourself coming and giving you an opportunity, and people always, like you said, I gotta get the right, all the right answers. I gotta get the all the right things in my life. I gotta know everything. You know, I'll get the rocks to praise me. I would have said.
You know what? I love that scripture as well because it also says that when Peter was walking out, he
Mm.
was scared and he
Yeah.
got frightened by the storm and he started to sink. And Jesus raised him and said, why do you have such little faith? And that right there is, it's one thing to step out
Mm.
into the waters, right?
Agreed.
But it's another thing to keep that faith and keep your eyes on the prize.
Woo.
If Peter would have kept his eyes on Jesus and just ignored
We should
all of the storms, and the thing is that storms happen every day.
all the time.
Every day, people are going through a storm, and that's actually one of my favorite quotes ever. That one of these, this one quote was one of the major shifts in my life.
Mm.
It goes two of them actually. This one is called the blowing of the wind, which is it's not the blowing of the wind that determines our destination, but it's the set of the sail.
Oh.
All of us are like on a little sailboat, and it's not the blowing of the wind that determines our destination.
Hmm.
It's the set of the sail, the setting the sail of better thinking, setting the sail of better financial habits, better thinking habits, better life habits.
Yep.
Because there's storms every day. There's social storms, economic storms,
Mm-hmm.
Republican versus Democrat storms,
Fact.
whatever kind of storm it is.
Yeah.
It's family storms. But they cannot determine your destination. You can manufacture your life in a way and set direction no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, God gave us that gift to automatically do it. So it's like,
So true.
okay, you got permission from God, who is the ultimate creator of everything,
Yep.
and He gave you this sailboat that can now. What's the problem? The problem is you have such little faith.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Oh my. Oh my. Thank you, Pastor. Yo, and it is the truth. Like I've had it myself. Like I always look back and look at the past, look at the past, look at the past, and I'll step out and I'll be like, oh, not this time, not yet, not yet, not yet. Soon, come back. I'll step out now. Okay, no, 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 not yet. And I've had this, and then one somebody put on the Instagram like the other day, and it was like what it says. What must I take away from you for you until you realize that I'm your source? And I was just like, oh, oh, so it's not me then? So it's not me? So I'm not the determining factor in this stuff. It's not me. It's like you just gotta step out. You know, there's so many scriptures that said that I will guide your every step. People got fail to realize he'll guide it means you still have to pick it up. You still have to move your weight forward and not really know where that foot is being placed. You don't know. He says, I will guide your steps. I will be the light to your path. And
Mm,
we too much want to focus on what we could do, how we can place our foot. Oh, I got this plan right here, and this is going to achieve this goal. And oh, this is
yeah.
what's gonna. I was just like, not really. Because like you said earlier, it's like you couldn't envision where you are right now. The things that you have going on, you couldn't even think about it right now. And it's just like,
Never would have thought, bro. Never would have thought at all. Where I'm at today is just like, and I'm not rich. I'm not someone who has like millions in the bank or anything
yeah,
like that. I'm someone who's just well on his way to something amazing, and I've been able to have a few accomplishments in my short time period that I've been on this life.
so
But what I man, it's just like we we can only see so much, and like most people can't even see past this month, past this week. They can't see past paying their next bill.
oh so true.
And it's like, don't you realize that life is more than just paying your bills? Don't you realize that if you are caught up in that situation, that you're living paycheck to paycheck, that you're in need for more? So why are you shutting out the door? And
Yeah.
it's exactly the reason why I said earlier, because the same wall, the same door that blocks out sadness and happiness, it blocks out happiness and opportunity. The same thing. So it's like you gotta like, it's unavoidable. You're gonna lose, you're gonna win, you're going to lose, you're going to win, and then you may win some more. But the thing is that you got to play the game.
Must, must.
No choice. If you want. I mean, some people are like, I don't want to play the game. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. Just live your life in a corner. We'll give you a blanket and 3 meals. It's all right. And that's okay. But
Yeah,
that's not a way to live. And most people can agree that that's not a way to live. So
I came
I
to
truly firmly,
so
yeah, go ahead.
I came to live for you to have a life and life more, more abundantly, more abundantly. Not scraps, not dust, not crumbs, but more abundantly. Man,
Yeah.
man, I want to ask you just before we wrap it up here is you started sign them papers. You're saying you couldn't imagine where you're at right now. Would you imagine it in a sense of, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make $1,000 this month? Was that your mindset, or was it like, shit, I'll make a couple $100?
Um, when I first started, I wanted to just make a quick part-time income
Mm,
because I had no money and I had no job.
facts.
So, I wanted, at least 500 to 1,000 a month. And I was able to do that within my first few weeks. And this just because, at least my company is just they have amazing products, and they obviously worked on me, so it was easy for me to get my first handful of clients.
Facts.
So once I was able to go and see what it was possible by meeting those leaders that I mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
that's when I was just like, oh, okay, now I can actually do this as a career. I'm like, I didn't know that you can do like network marketing or having a life coach business or any of my other entrepreneur efforts. I didn't know that you could live off of your own dime. I
Hmm.
literally was raised in an environment of going to school, going to work, going to school, going to work,
Yeah.
and people continue that, and that's okay. But like, you gotta have, if that's what you want. Most people, that's not what they want. They just are listening to whoever tells them that.
Facts.
That's the problem. You can't listen to other people. You got to follow the calling that's in your heart, which is the only person in this, not even a person. God was the one that told you this when you were a child. He told you what you wanted to be. And I wanted to be a doctor that can heal people. I
Hmm.
wanted to cure cancer, but little did I realize that it wasn't cancer of the body.
Oh Lord.
It was
Oh
cancer of the mind.
yes. Yes. How
That's
you got
why
so
my
much
my
gems, bro? What's going on? You got a gold mine over there? Golly. Oh,
bro, man. Again, man, it's just God just put so many resources, man. I'm blessed to have been able to take action on that, and I'm nothing special. Like, I'm just someone who had the audacity to have courage. And you know what? One more gem, bro. I got you. One more gem. Okay. You see this little tattoo here? I don't know if anyone can see that.
yes, sir.
Right. It says 1-9. Right. I have a little tattoo on my wrist. It's my first tattoo. I got it this year.
Okay,
Um,
nice. You gonna get
was
more?
it this year? Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't this year. It was actually a few months ago. But yeah, I am definitely going to get more. But this
And
is my
once you
first
start,
tattoo,
man,
and it's what?
once you start, it's hard to stop.
Oh yeah, I'm already addicted. I'm like, dang, I'm about to get a whole sleeve.
Most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. What does that one say though? What
So
does that mean for you?
1-9. My
Mhm.
name is Joshua. 1-9.
Oh shoot.
And that scripture says, "Man, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And I look at that, man, every day, and it's in my wrist every day. It's
Mm.
my left hand. I mean, it's not my dominant hand, but bro, when I'm lifting those weights and I'm doing my bicep curls, I see that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, God, why am I here? And He's just like, didn't I tell you that
Yeah.
you needed to get in the best shape of your life?
Yes.
Didn't I tell you that you needed to do this because you need to be the example? Don't be afraid. Do
Mm.
not be discouraged
Mm.
because I'm with you.
Mm.
And whenever I feel down, man, and I look at that scripture, that's what carries me. Just so happens it's my namesake. So beautiful coincidence.
That's powerful. That's powerful. No, I was about to ask you, what would you tell somebody that's in that situation that just got kicked out, just got evicted, just don't know what's going on, stresses at home, stresses at school. What would you tell that person that was you?
That's a really good question because part of me wants to say that it's meant for a purpose and to absorb it. And then another part of me says for you to go to outside resources and change it. I
Mm.
think it's like it's really hard for me to say because honestly, I think that time period, even though I was wanting opportunity and I was wanting leadership and all that, but I didn't receive it until it was already gone, until that chapter was closed already, you
Mm.
know? So I'm just like, it's hard for me to say whether or not that it's funny because most people want to escape that situation, but then here I am and saying like, no, 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 you should stay.
It's like there's some in there. There's
it's
some power in there, man. Just stay in the paint.
it's but the thing is that like it's just everyone's story is different, so I can't really say. Some people go through some messed up situations. I do not have that kind of story. Like I went through some tough times, but some people have gone through some real tough times. And that I'm like a fraction of what most people's stories are, right?
Hey, you
But
never know, man. You never know. It's
I
the way
think
we deal with it, right? It's the way we deal with
it's
it.
the way we deal with it. And I think that if you kind of know that this is meant for a purpose, if someone is looking at their life and they're like, I can't even see past today. All right, great. You have today. What are you going to do with it?
Facts.
What are you going to do with today? Are you going to change? And that's why I say start with the body. If you start with your body and you get, like, if you get what I love to say, disrespectful results, you're looking at the mirror and you're like, oh, who dat? And you're like, I'm talking about those kind of results. We're like, damn, like, you're
Yes.
looking kind of sexy. Like, you know
Yes.
how much of a boost that is in your morale?
Fact.
Like, and you're feeling good. And then if you start reading good, not listening to politics and not listening to what your immediate circle says,
Yep.
because most of the time our immediate circle are stuck in the same place we are, because birds of a feather flock together.
Yes, sir.
And when you start expanding and having that courage, I think that's really, it's just a process. So if I'm going to look back in my life or if I come across someone that's just like me, going through the exact same situation or something similar like that, I'm going to say absorb it,
Mm.
and know for a fact that you can get out of it. Work on your body, work on your mind, work on your soul.
Gee golly, man. You got some gems coming up. My back's getting hurt from carrying all this load, boy. Hey, got it. Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. One thing I gotta ask you is promote anything that you're doing right now, whatever it is, any links, anything that you want people to know about, connect with you. What are you doing, man?
Man, a lot of things. I think my favorite project that I'm working on is my men's empowerment group. It's called Invictus Empowerment,
Yes, sir.
and it's in Clubhouse. It's also in on Facebook. We're having guest speakers twice a month, but there's going to be weekly assignments. Weekly. The whole purpose of this thing is to go and literally share knowledge. I want people. I want this as an environment for guys to come together, for
Mm.
fathers who never had for kids who never had fathers, for fathers who never had kids. Those kind of, I want everybody, all the guys need to be coming together, because there's nothing like that. We're all separated, and then we're told that it's kind of weird for guys to be all together at one place. No, that's the enemy. The enemy doesn't want a group of guys together. They don't want a group of girls together, and girls are so freaking smart and more developed that they already have women's empowerment groups. So why is it not
Why don't we
possible
not?
for men?
Exactly.
Exactly. Why can't we create that kind of Christian environment as well? And my Invictus empowerment is not necessarily Christian.
Hmm.
It's definitely biblical, but I accept people of all faiths and religious backgrounds. Anyone can provide value to anyone in that group. So if you want to get involved with it, follow me on Instagram at coach.joshua, Joshua 24, and DM me Kings. And
Yes.
that's it. So, and if you're a girl, there's also a women's empowerment group that my girlfriend has that's called Fit and Blessed Babes.
Yeah.
And we do transformation challenges and working on that body, mind, soul. So that's what we do. And
Nice.
that's all I got.
Beauty, man. Well, brother, last thing, say your name and I am a victor.
Joshua Martinez. I am Joshua Martinez, and I am a victor.
Hey, man, brother, man, thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
so much, brother.
And we'll
I
talk.
appreciate it.
Have a good one.